This episode is brought to you by Netflix. For a free 30-day trial, head on over to netflix.com/GameBreakerTV.
Gamebreaker TV.
Yibbity, 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 yibbity. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Or I welcome myself back. Episode 58 of GuildCast, January 23rd, 2013. Long ass show. We got details of the date for the January patch. Huge blog post to go over. An interview with Colin Johanson to dissect, done by our very own Mr. Scott Hawks. All that and more, plus your viewer questions. But first, it's Scott Hawks. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic.
How you feeling, bro?
Oh, just great. And anybody who was here for the pre-show would know just how wonderful.
Feeling a little under the weather?
All right, you guys, I got 8 crates of Epicac from more,
Just a
all
little.
on my tab. Now, whoever goes the longest without puke.
That's not what I wanted, but... Good to have you back, bro.
Thanks. Good to be back.
Yeah, I'm sure.
If anyone's wondering what's going on pre-show, Scott just like ran off camera like 2 seconds before camera. And he's like, I gotta get sick.
It was actually nothing like that. Gary's a liar and a troll.
And then he sent the picture over, and that's what it looked like.
God.
And from
I'm leaving if
Elizabeth
you aren't
Claire.
nicer. I'm leaving if you're not nicer.
What are you talking about?
You have to be nice to the sick person. It's the rule.
It's the rule?
The rule is basically the universe.
See,
Be
if,
nice to
I know
the sick
this,
person.
if I knew this was coming, I'd be like phoning you at 3 o'clock in the morning every day, like last week.
Hey Gary, how you doing?
That's the funny thing. He's got no sympathy, even though he was like bed-stricken for a week.
I went through it, bro. I was there with you. What do you got? What do you got? The flu?
I don't know.
You don't know? Just
Something unpleasant.
did it just happen today?
Something
Maybe
horrible.
it's food
Last
poisoning. What did you eat?
Last couple of days. Nothing.
Curdled warm milk with sushi?
Oh.
No?
Wow, I nearly swore. No.
You have a bucket near you just for the show, for show's sake? Because you can't leave. You know, you just gotta hang right there. You look good. I like the goatee.
Thanks. Thanks.
Kind of got like a Batman thing going on.
I'm Batman. I am darkness. I am the night. Clearly, I am Batman.
All right,
Well, defeated
so we got tons of shows. So January patch is almost here. It's called Frame and Frost. It's the prelude. It's hitting the servers, what, January 28th?
28th, yes.
28th. It's the first step in a huge story arc that they're going to be doing that's going to continue actually for months to come. This was actually really interesting. They did a little bit of a lore teaser here. It's pretty cool. It sounds, it says the sky falls and the ground shakes as Scott vomits in the lands of the north. Char and non refugees crawl from the wreckage of Scott's vomit of their homes in the Wayfarer footlands to the Diarrhea Plateau, struggling to find shelter with a commode to the south. The call goes out for volunteers to assist in the cleanup. The victims in this time of need when Earth and Sky and Scott seem to have become the enemy.
Scott isn't the enemy. You are, you jerk. Goodness. So mean.
All right, I'm prepared to be completely wrong here. Let's get serious for a second. Are you guys thinking this is Jorbag?
Okay.
What do you think? Dragon that drove the Norn to the south in the first place? Could this possibly be what is to come?
But before ArenaNet clarified that it's not, I totally thought
Damn! See, I'm glad I was completely prepared to be wrong.
I actually thought the same thing. I was like, oh, that definitely sounds Elder Dragonish, especially how they kind of made it sound like very, you know, because the Elder Dragons are often talked about as these like elemental
Forces of
kind
nature,
of forces, right? And it kind of mentions that in there. So But no, they posted on the forums because tons of people were speculating the Elder Dragons. They said there will be no, in this particular story arc, there are no mounts, and because people saw the horse picture in it and they started freaking out. And there's also no dragons in this story.
Damn, I was kind of looking forward to that. That would have been good.
I really wouldn't have expected one without an expansion. I feel like we might see a similar sort of storyline, like 3 or 4 months before an expansion, if they do like a story build in tie into it, but I certainly don't expect an expansion before like halfway through the year, so I don't think that this is a lead up to that either. But yeah, they did clarify, and people are heartbroken. They also clarified that there will be no unicorns, which I'm about ready to quit.
Holy shit, I'm
really
quitting. Unicorns? Are you
were gonna be
kidding?
in it. And now we have no unicorns, and I just don't know why I'm playing this game anymore.
F this game. Totally out.
Seriously.
Completely
Seriously.
done.
I wash my hands.
What's the point if you have not got a char on the back of a unicorn? With
Exactly.
the unicorn looking like it's just crying.
It would be ultimate win.
I'm
Carrying
gonna
the
wait.
bloody thing on its back.
And the Char is wearing a Quaggin backpack.
There you go.
So going back to this for a second, I don't know if I'm reading too much into this. Did you guys notice like all the elements in here? Patch is called Flame and Frost. Then there's Earth and Sky. What do you think? It's pointed or something? It's like Earth, Wind, and Fire are going to come and play.
Yeah, I think it's interesting with Flame and Frost, and you have the Fire and Ice, Game of Thrones series.
Yeah.
This is called Flame and Frost, slightly different.
Yeah, nobody's made that connection yet.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So-
I want Guild Wars 2 Rock Band. You know what I'm talking about. What do you think?
I do because I'm old, but like, all those
Flame,
hands up
Flame,
all those
Frost,
Earth, Wind, and
Earth, and
Fire fans out there.
And we welcome to the stage Flame, Frost, Earth, and Sky. I think it'd be awesome. Finally, somebody could steal something from Blizzard. God knows Blizzard's stealing everything from ArenaNet these days. Even this week, there's more.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? A lot of elementals? I don't know. I guess we could expect to, have some bad stuff going down in Wayfarer Footlands and Diarrhea Plateau.
It doesn't necessarily have to be like fighting elementals. It could just be the elements are going crazy. Maybe an earthquake rips through one of these zones, and there's a bunch of events about trying to evacuate people and rescue people from some sort of natural disaster. I don't know. It should be interesting how that whole thing ties in.
Mm-hmm. It also helps that in both the Wayfarer Foothills and I think it was Diesa Plateau's the other one. You have kind of entrenched foes who are already kind of indicative of both those elements. You've got the Flame Legion and you've got the Sons of Spawnier who are all icy and stuff. So they might be part of it, or it might, as Richie said, just be a kind of natural thing going on. Although, global warming and Diarrhea sounds like a really placid explanation. Like you feel like there's got to be a bad guy.
It's all the escaping methane for all those dead corpses in ore. You're just killing that many bodies in ore. All of that gas is going up, warming Tyria, and that's causing the world to crack. That's it. There we go. Solve the problem. Sorted.
What's the?
It's actually going to be an incisive commentary on our current political standings.
So you guys vote not too many elements. I mean, you look at when Earth and Sky seem to have become the enemy. I mean, it sounds like you could be fighting some elementals. I don't know. What are we actually getting in this patch? Temple of the Silent Storms, right? Isn't that being added to the tournament rotation for PvPers as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Nope, we're good. Yes, it's being added. Yep, sure it is.
Good commentary. Yep, it's good. Yep, it's being added.
That is my expertise.
That is my expert opinion. It is being added. Moving on, sir.
Can't argue with that.
They're adding a week-long change to how the tournaments work that feature that map. Yeah.
Yes.
So they're going to have that map, and instead of having 8 teams competing in 3-round tournaments, it's going to be just 2 teams, and they're going to be doing 1-round tournaments for a week, and then that map will now be in the normal tournament rotation.
See, Richie got me covered.
That's right.
I got you. Scott.
Got my back.
Richie got licks, and I got you, Scott. Don't worry, I got you.
Cheers. Thanks. Cheers.
I'm sure he feels really encouraged and backed up by that.
I feel completely relaxed about the whole thing.
Yeah.
He's tingly.
Nervous.
We were doing so good there for a while.
Such a jerk.
So we're also getting the improved achievement system. So we're getting more diversity with the dailies, getting some rewards for our achievements. We're going to get into a lot of this later on in the show, but guesting, holy effing crap, guesting. We're going to need a new running joke on the show now. What is it going to be? We're not going to really be able to talk about guesting anymore.
We still have Scott's uncomfortable love affair with his guardian, Elizabeth's obsession with Quaggin, and
I'm right there on the guardian thing. Mine's 32 now, and I just can't play her enough. It's the most beautiful thing. And I really regret the fact that my warrior's 75, because now I feel like I need to play her to get her to 80. But my guardian's just sitting there waiting.
So you guys are together now.
The amount of people who took the mick out of me for being a Guardian obsessive way back in the midst of a Guardian's Tale stuff, and now I get tweets all the time. Oh, by the way, I won't make fun of you anymore because I love my Guardian too. I've been with you. I agree. I can't devote the time that she deserves.
I think you guys are proving my point that we don't need a new joke.
Yeah.
This joke is still...
What?
Scott went with the Mists of the Guardian, which I saw what you did there, sir. What do you think of this? Now, do you think, are they, I don't know if ArenaNet said anything publicly about this, but do you think most players should make sure that they are on the homeworld that they permanently want to stay on before this patch hits? Because...
Yeah, of course.
I mean...
So you have to pay afterwards.
Well, that's what I mean. As soon as it hits, do you think they're going to immediately turn off no more free server transfers? Or you think they'll give maybe...
Yes.
They'll probably give a little bit of a window, though, won't they?
No.
They told us more than a week in advance, so even if someone had transferred the day that they announced that, they'd have a week to make a change to a different place. So there's not going to be a window.
Okay, so word of advice: get on the homeworld you want to permanently live on now, before the patch hits. At least you don't have much time. So you might as well just do it and don't forget.
Yep.
What about the whole EU thing? People are somewhat complaining about it. You will not be able to guess from America to Europe and vice versa. I don't think I really expected this. I mean, ping times and things like that would just be kind of out of control.
I feel like only Guild Wars 1 players were expecting it, because in Guild Wars 1 it was no big deal. Everyone the way that they had their server clusters, it was not even an issue to switch from American district to English or European district to international district to Asian district. So that was something that we were really used to, being we can I can play on American districts when I'm with my American buddies, and then we can go to international when I feel like playing with my European buddies, and everyone's great and it's fine. So I feel like Guild Wars 1 players expected that because it's something they had in the past, but it's such an entirely different server structure that I wasn't really expecting it.
What I'd say is, I think...
I was going to say, you actually had to ask Colin about this in your interview, didn't you?
Yeah, and he admitted that this confusion was something that they expected that people would have, because there's partly for a number of reasons. One, there have been people who've been one of my colleagues, Gareth. He's been hopping back and forward across the EU and North America on the servers, and he's actually a member of a guild that's on the North American server as well as he's on EU, and he's still chatting to them back and forth in that guild chat, and he's still sort of conversing. So I think if you didn't know the server infrastructure, which if you're not looking too deeply into it, you're not going to, you might have expected that. So, and as I said, Colin said himself that they expected people to get confused by it, and they understand that people are disappointed. But then he explained, pure and simple, they weren't completely happy with the way it worked in Guild Wars 1. They didn't feel it was an optimal experience. And then with Guild Wars 2, there's so much more going on. It's so much more dependent on how close you are to the data center, with the different access that you've got at Guild Wars 2 for combat, the fact that it's more persistent, there's far many people going on at the same time in the same areas, that they felt that the experience guesting across the regions would have been not very good at all. So they just didn't feel that it was something that could do. It was just
so it sounds as if from that answer also that could kind of almost lay to rest that this isn't even on the wall of crazy that they might possibly be working on. So don't even think I know a lot of players are probably in the back of their head going well, maybe one day it sounds like it's probably not going to happen. Just forget that. It's kind of a bummer.
The way he put it was that it's kind of like getting a NASA rocket to launch. The complexity they're using in their servers, right? Even he didn't fully know the ins and outs of it. He says he needs a server programmer there to explain it all. He says, so if it's at that extent, it doesn't sound like it's anything that they're working towards.
Some of the other stuff, a lot of back-end updates are on the way in this patch, including they're saying enhanced performance and dubs, tweaks to the down-leveling mechanic, and some UI improvements. Most importantly, though, going into this patch... Baby Quagon backpacks coming to patch January 28th. Get them while they're hot. And unfortunately for Elizabeth's bank account, ArenaNet are actually going to sell these directly. No RNG. No RNG. How happy are you? Like, what are you did you dance around the house? I mean, what did you do when you saw this?
I thought it was extraordinarily. It was actually funny. So the announcement of that came out like 15 minutes before I got to my computer in the morning, whatever. And I get to my computer, and my Twitter feed is just full of tweets at me with, "Oh my gosh, have you seen the backpack? Are you excited? Are you screaming? Are you like just everybody like instantly?" So that was very adorable. So I actually heard about it through Twitter. And yeah, I'm ecstatic. I actually don't know how many of my characters will actually wear one, but
see, that was my next question. That was my next question, though. I know you're gonna have them. That's for sure. And I think a lot of people are gonna purchase one of these. But do you really think people are actually gonna really want to walk around with the Baby Quagon backpack, or is it gonna wear off?
I really wish that
it kind of looks like you've got. It looks like you got your school lunch in there, doesn't it?
it does. It's like really non-threatening. I really wish that they would have let you display your combat back slot in town clothes. Because in town clothes, that'd be great. Like, just walk around with your little Quagon pack and you're fine. But, like, my Elementalist isn't far away from getting the really cool beta ring capacitor back piece that's all shiny. So I'm not going to replace that with a Quagon. My Warrior's going to have her amazing legendary shield at some point. I'm not going to hide that with the Quagon. My Necro's all fierce and, like, tough. She's not going to have a Quagon. So, like, maybe my Asura Mesmer will get one?
What I'd like to see...
No?
Sorry. What I'd like to see is that the backpack is the same size for all the different races. So if you had it on an Azura, basically be dragging its feet along behind it.
And if you're a Norn, it's just like this tiny little backpack on your back. It's just like this little thing. I feel like you need like some glow sticks and some like E, and you're gonna go like a rave with this thing on. Maybe that. I got my Quagon backpack. Need some big high, crazy
Quagon pacifier.
Shoes. Yeah, totally.
Looks
pacifier.
like something. Yeah, Tank Girl would wear that.
Yeah. But I know a lot of people are excited about this. At least they watch this show. Yeah. They know the excite for Elizabeth's Quagon fetish.
If they released it in their actual store, if they like made it and produced it like Charlie, I'd have 10 so that when one wore out from being snuggled, like I had replacements. But it's
I gotta say, before they said there was going to be no RNG in it, I just envisioned us one week doing this, and like Elizabeth's got like a webcam up in front of her cardboard box that she's living in.
I would.
That could have been really dangerous.
What do you think? What do you think the rest of you want? Like, what about a damn cloak? Like, what about a badass cool cloak? We need some cool items, like some just awesome. I mean, that's cute.
I'm Batman.
Don't we need some like damn cool looking stuff? Cloak.
Way before launch, people were asking about cloaks because Guild Wars, of course, had guild cloaks, and they said that it was too many clipping issues with the char. So I think that's kind of their go-to thing for cloaks. I still maintain hope that they will release some someday, or at least tabards or something. Yeah.
Blame the char.
F the Christmas presents. We don't want Bambi. We don't Quagon. What a badass cloak.
Yeah.
It's true.
All right, let's move on.
Okay.
Big news this week. Colin Johanson laid out what we can expect from Guild Wars 2 in the next 6 months. Big post here. So he's clearly trying to regain his Brohanson status. He lost last time when he told us we were not getting an expansion's worth. Sure.
It's still an expansion's worth. It's just not an expansion. People are way too literal, and you don't understand how to read critically. You need to consume media in a critical fashion.
Don't defend the Brohanson. Let him build back up to it. He needs to earn.
And he does.
He's earning.
He does. He earns it.
So first thing we found out, we finally got some numbers. 3 million. So congrats to ArenaNet. Sold 3 million copies of Pretty good number. Where did you guys fall? I forget back in the day when we sort of. I know we talked about initial numbers. I think we all speculated, and I think we all kind of hovered around 1 million.
I think we said 1 million at launch, didn't we?
Which was about right.
Yeah. I don't know, 3 million. That's a damn good number.
That's a lot.
It's a pretty good number for 5 months.
He actually said that he believes that they're the fastest selling MMO to 3 million, possibly barring some China releases. But it's still that's very impressive.
Yep, it's a good number.
I mean, the other thing, if you really think about it, like, you know, we haven't really seen that many success stories in the MMO genre in general. You know, everybody looks at WoW as the big number with the, you know, the 10, 11, 12 million at some point, but it's like, no.
It wasn't there in 4 months.
No, it wasn't there in 4 months. That's for damn sure. You're right. That took years to actually get to. And since then, we haven't seen anything kind of like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, at least here in the US, like what have we seen kind of hit the 3 million mark? I mean, Rift at launch, I'm pretty damn sure broke 1 million. It
broke 1 million. Sweater hit 2 million, and then tailed off quick.
Yeah, I can't think of any. That doesn't mean there's none. But the other interesting stat is he also said that their login numbers have been slowly increasing each week for the past 5 weeks. So that was something they were also happy about.
Yeah. So. Because people are like, oh, 3 million, but probably none of those people actually play. And so they're like, no, we actually have more players over time, and servers getting more full over time. So it's good that it's not just a bunch of people playing for a day and leaving.
But I mean, even if, and I'm just making up numbers, I mean, even if they sold 3 and they're still actively, there's probably over 1 million actively for sure. Those are pretty staggering numbers right now. And like we always talk about, without the sub model, this is the type of game that you're going to step away probably for little bits of time, and then things like the January 28th patch is going to hit, and you're going to jump right back in. So, congrats to the team, though. Nice numbers. So, in the blog post, he talked about some reasons for Guild Wars 2's success being the fact that it's never bad to see another player. That's actually really, I mean, that's another thing that they kind of really, I think, did right. No fighting over mobs, no fighting over loot, no fighting over resources. None of that crap has that we've been dealing with for years in other MMOs, like kind of really crept into a really fun, cooperative environment.
Yeah, and you kind of get you kind of forget about it sometimes, right? You're just so used to it because we're 6 months in, and then you jump into another game, and all of a sudden it just hits you right in the face. You're like, oh yeah, wait a minute, that's back, and that doesn't make me feel good. I want this cooperation back, because you never think twice about running up to someone and smacking their mob to get credit, or you don't feel angry if someone else helps you out with things, or hey, let's all you actually want to point out like mining nodes to people. Hey guys, look, here's a good one over here.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh look, there's an Ori node over there. Yeah. Everyone runs over to it and starts chipping away.
And I think it's a really
switching. Sorry, people switching aggro on veterans so you can peel off, hit the node, and then switch over, and you hit the node, and then run away. There you go. Everybody happy and working together.
It's really important to kind of point that out too, because you talk about the initial feeling that a player gets on an MMO, like that first day, that first week, and those first impressions. And when you get into a lot of other MMOs, and like if you're maybe not like a super hardcore player and you're a little intimidated or something like that, and you start getting steamrolled by all these other things, and people are like, ninjaing crap and like all this other stuff, and you're fighting with other people, like there all of a sudden frustration sets in, and it's like that never really happened with Guild Wars 2. So pretty awesome. All right, let's talk about some of the quotes. He had a bunch of good quotes in here from this post. First up, this one was really interesting. He said, one of our focuses is expanding and leveraging our achievement system. The concept behind this is to allow players to earn new rewards for achievements, as well as progressing down achievement paths that take advantage of the open world experience. We'll add tokens for your achievements that you can turn in from select from a list of rewards, including new reward types like ascended gear and infusions. Seriously, why is this not in every game? Why do we not actually get rewards for achievements? Why is this never really? I mean, it's done in some games, but why don't we see this just everywhere? This just makes total sense.
And it makes incredible sense in Guild Wars 2, especially because for a lot of players who are playing each day, the sort of necessity to come back and play each day is simply down to, are you just enjoying what you're doing? There's not that compulsion because you're working towards something on a sort of near future sort of scale. If you're after a legendary, that can feel a long way away. And so the day in, day out doesn't feel as important. If you feel you go in and you could do just a few things and that counts towards something, I think that adds to the sort of day-to-day stickiness of the game like a lot. So I think it's a really big deal.
Yes, all those words. Yes.
Commentary
Ditto.
by Elizabeth.
Yes. I know I'm being super eloquent tonight, but for sure, over the last couple weeks, I started like really being like, oh, I'm going to be serious about Legendary, and I can't because it's just like I know that no matter how much I do, it's not going to be like a next. Mostly at this point because of the RNG on this stupid precursor. So it'll be nice to have something that's like, oh, I got an award today. I did real good. Good me. I did that.
You need that damn little pat on the head.
Yeah.
No, it just feels right, because I try to log in and do my daily, almost every day, and like Elizabeth said, what I'm getting out of that is karma, which I'm stockpiling for this legendary, which I'm not going to get for months and months and months. It'd be great to actually be getting something out of those daily achievements to actually work towards getting some stuff I can see some tangible rewards, in the near future. Get some infusion gears, get some dyes, get some other things like that. It's definitely a step in the right direction. I also think it's funny that they called them crowns originally, and then they had to change their name to laurels because apparently crowns mean something naughty in other languages. So I thought that was really funny.
Does anybody see
in the span of like 2 days they changed that?
Does anybody see any possible downside to the system? I mean, is there something that could backfire here with this?
Somebody will complain that they feel like they have to play.
Oh, it's going to be that whole argument of like, now I feel like I have to do these
the dailies.
things because...
You're making me grind dailies now.
Oh,
that's right.
Yeah, it could be that.
We got an interesting screenshot as well. Go ahead,
what
Richie.
I think might be most interesting about that, go Richie.
No, you can go, Liz. You don't have to.
Okay, is that actually some of those things are used for legendaries? They've got obsidian shards there. They've got dyes, which are used for the Bifrost. So it's really interesting that they've got legendary stuff that you can buy with the laurels.
And by interesting, do you mean bad? Because
I don't really mean bad. I don't mean great. I mean, I'm really glad that there's another source for obsidian shards there, because I'm really tired of not spending karma on anything ever. And it'll be interesting to see what that does to like the price of the Bifrost, because right now unidentified gold is about 13 silver a pop. And if you can just earn it, that'll change things a little bit, because that didn't seem super expensive. I mean, we obviously don't know exactly what this currency rate's going to be like. So it'll be interesting to see, because that obviously wasn't a complete list, to see what else is on there and whether that's substantively useful stuff rather than kitties.
What I don't like about having some legendary stuff on there is the same thing that we've encountered, throughout the game is, you're going to have that, again, some people are going to have that compulsion to just save up the laurels now, because that's also going to be going towards your legendary again. Instead of like saving up and now getting like a cute little mini pet or some ascended gear or something, it's like, oh, I should still save these because I'm working on my legendary. And this, we've seen this time and time again. You don't want to go for that cool exotic weapon that's not a legendary, because you're going to spend a lot of mats that you could be saving for your legendary. There's too much crossover, I feel like, with the reward system into items that can actually go. It needs to be a separate path, I feel. So I'm hoping it doesn't make me just save the crowns forever. We'll have to see exactly what's on that list.
I don't know. I kind of like the fact that they're making you make a choice. Like, I mean, there's got every single thing in the game can have like its own path to like the least resistance, where you don't have to make a decision. I mean, I feel like this kind of puts it in the hands of you to kind of set your own goals a little bit and say like, well, if I'm the kind of player, that it's a bit more casual and I almost know that I'm not going to get that legendary, well, I will buy some of those, items on that list and kind of spend my points. And then maybe you get some of those and realize, well, maybe they're not so great. And then you start saving them. I don't know. I don't know if I like your system, Rich, only because I like putting it in the hands a little bit that I can make a decision on some stuff and actually have to think about it.
I don't think it's a problem to have some things overlap, for sure, and I do think that you should have to commit to the legendary path if you really want to do it, and it should take a lot of your resources, but just not every single system. I don't think you should have to hook into that for every single system, and that's kind of how it's feeling like right now.
I think that it is nice that there's a lot of variety, because you don't have to, like, if you're like, oh, I'm not getting a legendary, you can get like 18 Chauncey Von Snuffles or whatever his name is, the little cat, or stuff like that. So, Scott, you were saying?
I was just saying, 2 months down the line when we're doing this show and people are writing in saying, I'm fed up that I'm having to grind these laurels. Just remember, 2 months right now when I said this, you didn't get anything for your achievements and those weren't even there in addition to what you're already having to do. Yep. So it's not making you do anything else. It's not you're losing out on anything. It's just in addition, and so it's a choice you can make now. If you want to spend some extra time and do that on top of what you're already doing, great. You've got extra towards what you were doing. Or you can split your time and choose which content stream that you want to do instead of going out and having to farm events and so on.
Stop making sense. Stop making sense. Don't you have a toilet to go hug? Don't you have a toilet to go like how to
I'll be there shortly.
Scott's like schooling people before the complaints even start.
Oh, because he knows
when you start complaining, remember.
I have to say, he's totally right. Like, we are going to get the complaints about this system. And it's like, well, just think back to when you just didn't get anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The big question for me on this list, right? Seriously, what's in the box? What's in the gearbox?
Seriously.
What's in the gearbox?
That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Like, I have to assume that it's skins, but then I don't even know. Like,
I think there has to be some sort of chance for a weapon in there. Otherwise, they wouldn't break it down by every single class or every single profession, right? Because if it was just, armor, you could do medium, heavy, and light. So thinking it's weapon, or at least a chance for weapon, among other things. And since the box is gold itself and they're kind of cheap, I'm thinking that maybe they just give you a random rare item that fits that class.
But does it have to be a weapon if... I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. You're probably right. I think there's a good chance it will. But does it have to be a weapon? Because if each of them are individually tailored for profession to show off a skin for that profession, then it wouldn't have to then just be medium.
I feel like we'd have heard about new skins before. Like, they haven't really been big so far in having like profession-specific skins. So I feel like weapon makes sense because that's the one way to make sure that whatever you get is useful at some. It'd also be interesting if it is items to see what sort of stats they put on it. Like, are they going to say like, oh, well, all the Guardian stuff drops, healing power and toughness and something else? Or are they going to be more like general or randomized? So that'll be
that's
interesting to see how many of those I open.
But that's a really good point, because when we read this, we thought that the same thing, is that there's probably going to be some sort of gear that's actually going to have stats on it, because in a quote just before it, he talks about playing the game the way you want to play it and reaching the most powerful reward. So he uses the word powerful. So I can't imagine that they're just cosmetic armor skins or something like that don't need mutation stones or something like that.
I don't think it would unbalance anything because it takes, according to that, and of course prices can change. According to that, it takes 5 laurels to get one of those, and that's about 5 days worth of doing dailies, or half of a week to half a month of doing the monthly or whatever. And if they gave you a random rare level 80 weapon / armor out of that with just randomized stats for it, I mean it kind of feels like that might fit, and I don't think that would break anything. Of course, you might get something cool looking, you might get something that it's pretty useless, but at the end of the day, it might be a little bit of a gamble for that. And I agree that if there were going to be like skins tailored to professions, that probably would be a feature they would be trumping up quite a bit.
I would think so, yeah. It's just an idea. Just wondered. Might be nice.
I'd be cool. I like your idea better.
Yeah. Let's do both.
What do you think this is geared at? Is this geared at a little bit more for the solo or casual player to be able to kind of get some of this stuff?
I'd say it certainly impact them immediately the most, but where it is, it's a content stream that anybody can do. So it just adds to more that everybody can do to access gear in different ways. So people who are spending all the time on their own, you poor sad people, I'm so sorry. Then immediately this is going to be great for them. But also anybody else can jump in and do a bit of this, put their hand in, and get some rewards out of it. So.
Yeah, because how else can you kind of get a rare at this point, right? You can either buy one from the trading post, which is, maybe not the most fun way, or you can just run around the world and hope one drops. So this could be a way to, like, all right, you're playing the game consistently, here's a rare every once in a while.
You can craft them.
You can craft it. Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you can craft them.
We also see some, there's pets in the screenshot, crafting materials, the all-important cat tonic. dies. It really seems like this system can be really robust. I mean, it seems like the kind of system they could almost add almost whatever rewards they possibly want to over time, right?
Precursor. I don't care if it takes me like 3 months worth of dailies. Precursor. Just say it. Precursors.
What about the die reward? That's pretty damn well needed, right? After the drop rates have been changed. Is that a big one?
Could be.
It's one of those again where we look back and remember all of the controversy when they changed the die system to be into the character and so on. Oh my God! What they're trying to do? They're trying to fleece us in the gem store. Those evil folks.
I wouldn't mind if a best were account wide because damn, that's expensive. I have it on my Necro. I got it when I bit the bullet and bought it when it was like 4 gold. I wish I'd held on to it. Stuff's worth like 25 gold.
Yeah, but it's a good argument against all those people that say that, ArenaNet, they change things all the time just to make more money and all this kind of stuff. Well, if they were only focused on making money and that, they wouldn't offer dies, through this laurel system. They just wouldn't do it. That has a direct impact. So it's definitely something they're putting in as a quality of life or an enjoyment factor for the player base. So kudos to them.
One thing that kind of threw me off here, and obviously everything can change till it's actually launched. But what do you guys think of the prices on this stuff? It seemed awfully low. Like, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, shouldn't the gear boxes and stuff be more expensive?
Yeah, unless we're earning fractions of a laurel.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you got 0.2 laurel. You got
actually save up tokens, which you convert into laurels, which you then convert into rewards. Or
what it turns out, each laurel is actually you get the frame, and then you got to get each leaf on it.
Yeah, each leaf.
So you got to do 250 leaves per laurel, and hardy handshake. So it's good.
Laurel party, get it.
Got it.
Got it. The I mean, all we know right now.
Keep it flowing.
Blazing Saddles, come on.
We all we know right now is you can get 1 laurel per daily achievement, and then 10 for doing the monthly achievement. So right now, or again, I guess when the patch launches, that's going to be the only way to kind of earn them. So it is going to be slow to earn them at the start. So who knows how that'll expand out. So the prices, for some items like the armored boxes or the weapon boxes, whatever there are, profession boxes, those are kind of low, but stuff like, Chauncey Von Snuffles III is kind of pricey.
But worth it. Come on, it's Chauncey.
Chauncey.
Really?
I feel bad for the little doggy pet. I forget his name, Golful or whatever it is, because
oh yeah, that nobody's ever going to get.
Chauncey's getting all the attention.
Chauncey.
Yeah. Chauncey Von Snuffles.
You guys think buying the gear is gonna? You think it's gonna give you a full set, or you think it's gonna be a piece? You're gonna have to keep going back for more. I mean, that may be.
I would be amazed at that price. But if you've got a full set, it's like,
I'd be really surprised.
I'll switch to my next character then, and I'll get that one sorted.
In 5 more days, I'll have sets for everyone.
2 weeks, I've got a full stable full of brand new gear. Fantastic. I'll be amazed.
Shiny.
What's the possibility of there being an RNG element, though?
I think it's high.
Pretty high.
One RNG item.
Like 30
I would say
pairs
that's
of boots.
almost definitely an RNG.
How many more pairs of boots can you have?
As long as you can get ectos out of them, no one will care.
Exactly.
You get another.
Handy ectos, fine by me.
You'll get another medium hat with a feather in it.
Stupid Armageddon coats. They're gonna be all that pops out.
What about the stats, though? Aren't people gonna? It's kind of the whole stat thing's kind of weird. I mean, people they might have to take into account that people are going to be wanting different stats for the gear as well, which could point more towards gear skins,
or just stuff with an unused upgrade slot. Just put in whatever stats you want.
Yeah. Well, and also
so we're talking Ascension gear, basically. Man?
I don't know.
We don't know. We're speculating.
Yeah, I think if it's going to be like a random item in those boxes, it'll just be random stats. If you don't like the stats, you sell them on the trading post, or you do the catch-all, the Mystic Toilet. You throw it in there. But
don't say toilet.
Sorry. Oh, what was I thinking? Sorry, Scott. But I think the Ascended gear, we're gonna, it's not on that list, not on that screenshot. But what did they say? It was going to be necklaces, amulets.
I think necklaces was right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
because we've already got rings and back pieces. It was amulets.
And I think there's going to be rings on that vendor as well. I remember seeing that somewhere. So hopefully that'll be great, because that's a more of a guaranteed way to get those if you don't want to just grind fractals forever.
Well, we don't have a ton more time. We'll find out hopefully soon. I hope there's no RNG element to it.
There's going to be.
There's got to be.
Don't
There's
just
going
lie
to
to
be.
me.
For that
Just
price, there's got to
lie.
be.
Come on, just lie.
I'm going to
to
crush
me.
your dreams now so you don't cry
Okay.
later.
No, there's got to be.
You're an ArenaNet red poster. I like that. They're like,
I really
"I'm gonna
am.
crush your dreams now. There's no dragons.
Got to do it. No unicorns. RNG element
I'm
guaranteed.
telling you.
Well, not
no
guaranteed,
unicorns,
I guess.
RNG, I'm out. Show's canceled. See you.
Done. Screw you guys.
All right, let's move on. Colin had this to say next. He said, we'll add support so daily achievements will be different each day of the week, which will help drive players to different areas of the world and play together. Later, we'll also be adding a system that lets you complete a subgroup of achievements to fulfill your daily. For example, if there are 6 daily achievements available, you'll only need to do 4 of the 6. So you can choose the achievements that you're most interested in. Now, I mean, in theory, this sounds kind of good. This could kind of go either way, though. I think it's a little bit of a dicey road. I mean, right now, you might be hanging out in ore, you know, getting high-level crafting materials, you know, good loot while your daily progresses. If the new system sends you back to, like, I don't know, Queensdale, land of copper ore, I mean, are players going to be down with that?
Well, if you're focused on just getting your daily done as quick as possible, you're probably going to Queensdale anyway.
I was going to say, you're going to one of the places that has those events that pop like this, and that has enemy variety. There's a arena event in Upper Gandharan Fields that has like 13 enemy types over 2 events that happen like back to back. And so like if I log in and I don't have something to do right away, I just go over on my Guardian and I'm just like, okay, this can start whenever and I'll get my daily pretty much handled because it's 60 kills and, like I said, 12 or 13 varieties. It's great.
Yeah. A quick tip. Yeah, I was going to say, quick tip, by the way, the weeks where it's in those areas, prepare to get copper cheap.
Yeah.
It's true. They did say that the way they were going to lead people to different places would be more through once they have like the system in where you can actually block or choose not to do certain ones. They can actually do things like, you know what, go head over to Holbrook and do the keg brawl, you know, and play 10 matches of that or something like that. So those kind of pointed achievements, I think would be really fun to actually point them in an area that doesn't get used that often. They also said he also said that. Actually having jumping puzzle completion as an achievement is something they can do. But right now they don't want to do that. Right now it's just find jumping puzzles, which is kind of odd for the monthly. But they can actually, once people can block that one, they can actually do that. So I don't think it's necessarily going to be some things like go hang out in Queensdale for a while, but it might be, let's do these specific activities in specific places and get people out in the world a bit more. So I think it'll be fun.
Have they said anything, or do you guys think that they'll expand this into the monthly achievements as well?
They didn't mention it, and I guess we'll find out. They've already done a pretty good job with monthly in putting new stuff in every month. We haven't had 2 identical monthlies. Like, when Fractals was first up, they've said, I think twice in a row now, hey, like, go play some Fractals, or go see jumping puzzles. So they've been doing a good job using that to kind of call out parts of the game. So I assume they'll keep that up. I don't know that they'll have, like, now you have 7 options, do 5 of them, sort of thing. We'll see.
All right. Next up, Colin talked about putting the guild back in Guild Wars 2, something that Scott Hawks is vehemently against. I know you just can't deal. He said, first up, we're working on adding new types of content to the game in early 2013 that will allow guilds to go on missions together. Some of these missions may be content designed specifically for the guild to accomplish within certain constraints or time requirements. This is something, Scott, you've been talking about for a really long time, and it's really good to hear something like this, but what would you like to see here? I mean, you've been very vocal about the guild system.
I think we're going to cover it actually later, but the issue at the moment is if you go to OR, did this the other week, Elizabeth said, hey everybody, let's go to OR and do a bunch of stuff. And I got there late as usual because I was working. And then I got there, and Elizabeth goes, okay, I'm going to drop from the party now. I went, why? Because we've got too many people to fit in the party to speak to each other. And I went, oh my god, yeah, you can only have a maximum of 5, can't you? Doesn't matter what you're doing. So it's cool and it's great that we're going to have guild-oriented stuff, and it's so necessary. It's so much something to give a focus, but it's still going to be a little awkward to have quite a bunch of you going to do it. It's still something that's going to be separated by parties and so on, I guess. You can still use your guild chat to organise and so on, but having stuff that you can kick off as a guild is great. So you can go there and there's going to be events or so on that only a guild can initiate, and then other people can join in. And then Colin also says something about, like, there's going to be stuff that only your guild can do, and it's not going to be for everybody, but it's still going to be out in the open. So you're going to be thinking it's content that's basically already there. And I said it's going to be like new types of content. It's going to be new ways of initiating it, but it's still going to be based on the same sort of content that we already see in the world.
So really, it sounds like some of the stuff that's in the world, they're just going to wrap some different mechanics around it and kind of... Yeah, I mean, so definitely it sounds like this is open world stuff. It doesn't sound like there's anything sort of instance here or anything like that.
Yeah, there's not.
I flat out asked, is there going to be any instance? And he said, no, not at all. Especially for the time being, said that everything they want to leverage, the whole thing about this first 6 months is the open world. They want to make this open world that they've got as strong as humanly
like
possible.
odd though, like what you just said about it being like, you know, stuff that we've already kind of seen in the game. I just find it odd that like, so if you and 4 of your guild members are gonna, like, you know, go to Queensdale and fight off some centaurs, I mean, that's gonna be what you're doing.
I don't think that's the scope they're thinking of.
That's the worry. That if that's what it is essentially you go out and you're triggering essentially the same kind of dynamic event that's going to be in that area anyway. That's not going to be very exciting.
How is
I'd be surprised if it is that.
Was there anything sort of wrapped around how this is going to work with everybody else who's on the server? Like, you're going to have like half the server like following you around in this thing, and like how is it?
But basically, for some of it, yeah. For some of it, yes. That's exactly what's going to happen. Is and what he talked about was the idea of guilds getting names, being out there, and you see the guild tags, and there's these guilds starting events off, and you're like, I want to be in that guild because they're always up to stuff and doing stuff. So it helps with guild recruitment if you're active and visibly active in the open world. And people will be able to join in for a good chunk of what you're doing. So they'll be able to help you and whatever it is they've kicked off. So we haven't had specifics yet, and it's a little nervous, but I'd be surprised if it's going to be a case of, okay, our guild's here because our guild's here and we've done this. It means that we've now got 20 centaurs in, Queensdale. Because then it's like
that just doesn't seem very ArenaNet. Like that just seems like
I cannot see that being the way. I'll be stunned if that's what.
So what do you, all right, Richie, Elizabeth, jump in here. What do you guys think? What any ideas of what could be a bit more epic, a bit more what they're maybe could be doing here?
So before launch, way back before launch, when people were talking to them about what's going to happen, you know, what's going to be the real purpose for guilds, they're talking about, you know, big zone-wide content where you'd have to get multiple chains of things going, and that wasn't really something that we've seen happening in launch. Most things are like you follow a single event chain and it works, or like to Quaddle's boss, you have like 2 people back there making sure that nothing happens to the Mega Laser and everyone else is just spanking to Quaddle. So you don't see a lot of multi-part events as they are, so I would like to see things that actually really require a dedicated team to protect, you know, the whatever's going that way with a miracle cure, and someone else to hold down the boss and someone else to go do something else and figure stuff out and make communication happen. So it'd be nice if they made stuff that was actually crucial for a well-organized group, because right now anything that's in the open world can be zerged. They need something that tactically is demanding of a guild's sort of infrastructure.
And that's what I'm nervous about, because when we talked about bosses, we all kind of agreed that was the weakest component of Guild Wars 2 so far, where their boss mechanics and how they kind of built those encounters and stuff just were a little bit lackluster. And that's what I'm afraid here, is that just like the Zerg's always going to win. I don't know how I'm a little nervous with this whole thing.
It's all down to the execution of it. If we can start having encounters that are multi-phased, that are engaging, and this is what Colin's talking about this week a lot is they're really aware of that, and they're really working on improving that and making the rewards for it better. But remember way back in the midst of time when we were leveling up and we were like, oh, we'll wait to see what happens with guilds at the end, and we were told, well, when you get to ore, there's going to be three landings that you get on, and if you're a guild, you're going to be helping hold these battles, and it's going to be organized in that way. So that's going to. I'm like, oh, okay. No, that's not really the case. So hopefully, this will be that. If this is that, brilliant, and then that'll be great. And of course, there's going to be some events where it's going to be just small, because if not, you don't want to have something where you need 150 people to kick it off. You can't have everything like that. So there's going to be small things, small events that you can kick off that are going to be like, flavor or so on. Perhaps it'll tie into this new storyline that you can get involved in that in some way. There's a lot of ramifications and possibilities you could have for it. So I'm not expecting everything to be epic, but you'd like to think there's going to be some things in there that are going to be on that scale.
Although, go for it, Richie.
I like the idea of having something, and it kind of ties into what both these guys have already said, and I agree with everything they just said, but I like the idea of a guild has to kind of kick something off by coordinating multiple groups of people, like maybe in different areas of the zone. They have to do this at a certain time, and they have to do this at a certain time. And people can kind of say, oh, look, such and such guild is starting this, they're gonna trigger this, and so that the people in the open world can certainly join in. But the technically challenging or the tactical thing that has to be set up to launch the event, or even some of the components during the fight, actually have to be well coordinated on some sort of voice chat or something like that. So there's a component that has to be, but the open world can contribute. If they do that right, if they can somehow figure that out, and it won't be easy, then I think that's going to be very compelling gameplay. It's going to help bring the server community together, and it's going to help, like Scott said, help promote certain guilds for being, oh look, there's that really cool guild that always helps us get the dragon treasure, which we can't do by ourselves. So it's will be hard to do, but I would love to see something like that in the game.
This is going to be a tough one. I'm going to be interested. This is going to be an interesting one to see how this comes out. Because I think there's one side of it, I think what you're talking about, Richie, where guilds do get some recognition on the server and people kind of point them out, which is a great thing. But I think the other thing, I think what's more important is that guilds have content to feel like they're doing stuff as a guild, and that I don't know how that mixes with then bringing in like the rest of the public. Like it kind of all of a sudden becomes almost like a dynamic event. There's like something happening like that we've gone through the world and seen with a big public group, and maybe if our guild kicks it off for some reason, like that's all good and done. But then if everybody just shows up and it's not something that like I'm doing with like my group, and we're not. I guess what it comes down to is if we're not on comms and we're not like strategically chatting and trying to figure out like where to do things, what we have to do, and like calling out moves and calling out like what's happening, then
it's not making guilds necessary from the actual relationships between them. It's making guilds necessary from you're a mechanic, you're a key.
Yeah.
And if you're just a key, who cares? Because it'll be like, can some guild come and start this off?
Yeah.
And then it'll kick off, and then they'll just carry on, and no one will care. And that's the danger.
And that's what's really weird.
It's the thing I'm most nervous about in this.
With it not being
I think it's the most important.
With it not being instance and something for the guild to do in like a controlled environment, it's gonna be interesting to see how they do it. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Guys, we don't know much about it. Hopefully they're gonna. Did you guys talk about this at all in your interview?
Yeah.
Couldn't pull anything else out of them.
Sorry. I couldn't. The problem with that interview is the day before they'd done 2.5 hours of live streaming, talking about everything they were going to do, and then they were going to do a live stream after I'd finished. So like I got what detail I could, and then tried to talk about sort of like philosophy style stuff because I knew I ain't going to get that much detail out. But when I spoke about this, I says, right, are we going to have any instances? And he said, no, not to begin with. If down the road there's more demand for that, then they will look at it again. And some people freaked out when he said that. Wait a minute, that means they're going to do raids down the road. That's and he says, look, we're not. People have gone on message boards, and he said, people have been on messages say, this is us trying to introduce raids because that's not what we're doing at all. But if down the road there's enough of a demand for it, then they might look at missions that guilds can do in instance factors. But that's only way down the road, and if there's a big surge towards people wanting that and so on. So it's not like they're planning it. They're just going to see how this goes. They're going to expand on the core sort of ideas of this open world and make that work with the guilds, and then we'll go from there. But no, I It just says there's going to be 5 or 6 different content streams that guilds are going to be able to have a specific access into. There's going to be something you feel rewarded for being in a guild, and he said he recognised that at launch, the game does not have enough to make you enjoy the social interaction of a guild from the content in PvE. They said they absolutely recognise that, and now they're building on that and adding to it to fix that issue. So they're aware of it, and we don't know yet what the first response is. But the thing is, it's the first response, really. In my eyes, anyway. It's the first real attempt to add that social stickiness from guilds into Guild Wars 2. And it's going to be fascinating to see, because, as I said, it's the thing I'm most nervous about, because I think it's the thing that is probably most important to me personally, but also the thing that's going to be easiest to sort of not quite hit the target.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Brohanson, we got our eye on you. All right, so let's keep moving on. We got so much show left. Next up, ArenaNet. Seriously? What the hell is this? Seriously? What?
I think they made it. They get to say how it's called.
No, they've watched the show. I've said Dub v Dubs far too long. It's Dub v freaking Dubs. What is this? Woo-wah. No.
I'm sorry.
Wah-wah.
But that's what the characters out of Absolutely Fabulous, the noise they make when they kiss each other on the cheek. I mean, it's not good. It's just not good.
It's Dub v Dubs. Call it by its name.
Dub v Dubs. Definitely.
That's hilarious.
All right. Culling. We've been talking about culling for the past few weeks. We've gone over what it is. If not, go watch one of the older episodes. I don't want to go over it again. Colin had this to say about culling. He said, if all goes well, our hope in 2013 is the year culling ceases to exist or is as minimal as possible to the Dub v Dub experience.
They went on the forum, someone asked, and they clarified that that's actually anything that is changed for World versus World in regards to culling is also going to be changed in PvE, because some people were really confused because they only ever talk about it in a World versus World context. Someone was like, "Oh, you changed this for PvE because it's a really big deal," and they said, "Yes, we are." So
nice,
good, yes,
nice. Did you guys hear it?
What?
I'm sorry. Did you guys hear with the first phase of this fix how they're going to implement it? Because I thought it was really interesting.
No,
they're actually
by putting in the stand-ins.
Yeah, they're actually putting in, instead of having a period where mobs or models are invisible and then they spawn in a few seconds later, it's going to be a low-res model spawns immediately, and then a few seconds later the detail will fill in.
So like the standard Char warrior model. And that's more about client side than their side, but it will definitely help. So that'll be cool.
All right, well, sounds like a good fix. See, that's coming in the January 28th patch, right? Isn't the first...
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did hear that. I think it was the first. That was the first phase that actually going to hit.
Yep.
Sounds like give them a little slack, but it sounds like they cut a little leeway there. They're not going entirely. It's not sounding like culling is going to be absolutely gone forever. So
they're going to try.
It's their aim for 2013, and we're right at the start of it, so it's a long way to go yet.
They do have 11 more months to make this a thing.
Yeah, and it's the aim, so you know.
It's the aim.
Yep.
All right, some more good news for Dub v Dub fans.
Or Wovwa fans.
Wovwa.
Wovwa.
No.
Says we'll introduce a system of prestige and advancement specifically designed for Dub v Dub. This will give players a progression path where they earn new Dub v Dub only abilities and bonuses, and with them gain prestige and visible titles / recognition. Also, we'll add a new motivation to the Dub v Dub domain that goes beyond the overall weekly score to give more short-term reasons to be winning in
Dub v Dub.
Dub v freaking Dub as well. All right, seriously, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. Dub v Dub only abilities. What is up with that? I wish I had the SNL clip right now. What was the SNL? What's up with that? What's up with that? What's up with that? What's up? I said, what's up? I said, what's up? What's up with that? What's up with that?
I'm quite fragile. I'll just remind you of that.
How do you think this could work? WV only abilities. It's crazy.
I don't know. That scares me, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
You
losing sleep? I know. What'd you say? Am I losing sleep? No.
Sleep?
No, I've never played Dark Age of Camelot, but I think they had some RVR only abilities in that as well. I don't know exactly how that worked, but I don't know. It kind of scares. It depends on what this is. Is this kind of like cool stuff you can unlock to make your abilities look cool or flashy, or is it actually like more power because putting in a progression path that actually
PvP power? Sorry, wrong game.
That in.
Sorry, that was wrong game. Sorry, wrong show. That's tomorrow night. Go ahead. Sorry.
What?
Because I agree that we need to change the reward system in World versus World a bit, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. But having new abilities that actually increase your effectiveness in World versus World, that kind of I don't know, it kind of can alienate people that are just jumping into the first time. It's like, oh, you're just starting. You don't have Mega Rain of Fire like I have it, or things like that. I don't know. We don't have any information about it, but that kind of makes me a little nervous.
Hey, Elizabeth, you don't have Mega Rain of Fire. What's up with that?
That's right.
Are you kidding? I live in World versus World right now. I've got everything. If they put in abilities, I'll be like, I have it in a day.
But what do you think when they say abilities? So when they say abilities, I immediately think like abilities, not like just some cosmetic things or like a dance emote. Like I'm thinking
anti-arrow cart shields, and that'd be good.
Anti-portal anything, just lay down a thing that people cannot portal past a certain line. Gorgeous.
Not pass.
Portal wall. You instantly make a wall in front of the nearest portal. And just watch everyone go bang! Right,
it splits them in half when they appear.
I just want like a stomp that actually launches people back through the portal. You wait for them all to come out, stomp, and everybody falls back, and it's just perfect.
Are you guys scared? Like Richie's scared. He's losing sleep. He's calling his mom every hour. He's like, "Mom, I need the dumpy dump ability powers. I don't know what to do. This is gonna be crazy."
I want to be able to call in a tactical strike or an orbital strike. Be like, those people out there, I want them dead, and Zaitan swoops in.
It's interesting because a lot of it's interesting if they add another layer of sort of complexity to WW that only exists within that environment. A lot of times game designers want to stay away from that. They're kind of afraid to add more, just complexity of confusion for players. But I guess if you learn them over time, you're only going to get these things with achievements. As I guess you're assuming that you're not a veteran player, but at least you've kind of played enough that you'll learn them at a period in your playtime that you can kind of comprehend it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just don't think it fits everything else in the game. If it's truly a power thing, which we don't know for sure, but you do structured PvP, and you don't have any kind of statistical advantage over anybody else, and you kind of have a plateau to the gear that you can acquire in PvE. So it'd just be weird to actually progress in World versus World and actually unlock more powerful abilities than people that are just entering, they won't have.
So bar being weird for you, bar being weird, we know that you don't like it and it makes you feel funny and icky inside. Do you think that it's going to have actual abilities, or do you think it's just going to be cosmetic? What's your gut feeling on it?
My gut feeling on it is if it was going to be cosmetic, they probably would have said something cosmetic to just kind of avoid any kind of speculation. So I think that they're going to have some sort of cool way to do it. And it's funny. Despite being nervous, it's actually one of the more interesting little bits of information we've gotten. So it's kind of I want to see what happens with it and see what these things could be. But so I think it actually will be some sort of ability besides just cosmetic.
Are you afraid of change? Do you have problems with change?
No, I don't have problems with change. No.
Scott, what do you think? You think it's going to be cosmetic? Or you think it's going to be
I don't think it's going to be cosmetic. It's just how far they go with it. Is this going to be utility abilities that are going to give you map movement, map control, things like that? Is it going to be things to there's going to be auras to buff people around you, add a natural movement speed to anybody who's near you, or add to the strength of ballista or whatever. You know what I mean? Is it going to be something that specific and that's kind of passive, or is it going to be something that's you can really have kind of control over? I'd be surprised, even though they do want to start giving professions other than mesmers that sort of flexibility and utility.
I don't
think I don't think it's there quite yet.
I just had a stroke of genius. You ready for
Go.
this? I'm totally. What if there are abilities that you gain within WW that you have to hold on to and do certain things in WW? Like you don't keep them. You don't like reach the achievement and get it. And it's like, oh, you have this ability. It's like as a group, you have to like do things and gain tactical advantages and things like that and hold things. And then all of a sudden, like your group has this ability and you have it, but you can lose it.
Yeah,
That'd be a nice way to reinstitute the Cradles of Power. They had, when the game launched, they had these Orbs of Power and you hold them and it does nice things for your team. And then that kind of got way too complicated and it was just bad. So those became not a thing. So it would be interesting to be like, hey, you hold this point, you get, you know, if it's in the lowlands, suddenly, you know, all your water skills are better. If it's in the mountains, your earth skills are better, whatever. Something like that, that related to you hold these points, you get this bonus. The only problem I can see is if one became too well bonused and they weren't able to nerf it time, everyone would be like, well, screw the rest of the map. We're just going to hold, you know, the earth map on all 3 of the borderlands and we'll be fine. So it would be cool if it was stuff based on how you're doing tactically. Although then the people who are doing well will do better and it makes it really hard to balance again.
All right. Stop. You're killing my idea. Brohanson, you
Sorry.
can write the check
I actually
out
like
to
the idea.
Gamebreaker Media Group.
No, I like the idea too.
No, I think that idea could work better than just unlocking a permanent, you know, mega ring of fire thing.
I still want to be able to call in a tactical strike from orbit.
I'm here for you, ArenaNet. Make that check out. Game. Gary C. Gannon. Slip it under the door. We're all good.
The C stands for charisma.
Gary Charisma Gannon.
All right, let's keep going on. More titles, cosmetic bonuses, always a good thing there. Actually, going back to achievements for a moment. Does anyone else want ArenaNet to kind of just go overboard with titles? You just want like cool ones, ridiculous ones, millions of them. I kind of want to see that happen.
Every time I want more titles, I get made fun of. Torchlight 2 gives you an achievement for everything. Like you join a multiplayer group, you get an achievement, which actually is very fitting because it was really difficult to do on an internet group because it was terrible. Anyway, I like achievements that are kind of frivolous. If they start making like every achievement gets a laurel or whatever down the road, that might be really problematic. If they like, you joined a party, here's a laurel, and then suddenly, if it's an economy breaking thing, like your economy is broken, I think they give achievements for a lot of things. I can't think of a lot that I do that doesn't get me achievements.
I think new titles for the World versus World would be great. Like instead of just saying Invader, you will actually say something different that befits on how much you can put into World versus World.
The Annihilator.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Like we don't. I understand the reasons for not wanting your character name to be there, but if you could change that Invader to like Face Melter or something like that, you'd be like, oh, look out for that guy.
Raffle Stomper.
No, I want the achievement to actually show my name and then have what you're going to do about it. Like, at the end of it.
Scott, come at me, bro. I just want to
whisper you incessantly
about it.
The Porcelain King.
Indeed.
So suave about it too. So, yeah.
You're looking better. You're totally just like getting right back into shape right in the show. You've gone from like a 2 to you look like you're about like a 7 or 8. You got color back in your face.
Yeah. I'm feeling good. It's called flushing.
Did you hurl chunks like literally right before the show?
You really don't have to bring him.
I don't think Scott.
No,
I don't think
he ran. He beelined off camera. He left. He just he ripped his head off and like left it. We were about to start the show.
What do you think? I was running to do some laps. Like,
it's like, I forgot to bring the mail in. Hang on,
Scott. Oh. I don't think his middle name means charisma.
No, but you know that feeling when you just get all sweaty and all like the blood drains out of your head and you just start sweating and you're clamming. You're like, oh my god, it's gonna happen. But then you get there and you like hug it and you look at it and it just feels so cold and nice. You just put you rest your head on.
You really don't need to do this to him.
You're just like, oh my god, wow.
We can talk about this next week when no one's nauseous.
The cool water and the porcelain just it took it all away. I'm feeling okay. And then maybe you don't hurl chunks and you come back to the show and I just was kind of
and then some git goes on for 5 or 10 minutes as you're trying to last through a show and then brings it all up again.
Difficult enough. Goodness. You're a jerk.
I got an amazing deal for everybody from Netflix. You guys got to head on over to Netflix. Go to netflix.com/GameBreaker TV. Sign up today. for a free 30-day trial. If you guys have not checked out Netflix yet, the F are you doing here? That's all I'm going to say. Get on over, check out Netflix. Go to netflix.com/GamebreakerTV. Got a free 30-day trial with your name. Any American Horror Story fans here? Anyone?
No,
Anyone?
but forget that. Watch Louis.
No? Oh, Louis is so dirty. Wow. It's uncomfortable.
But it's brilliant.
I was home. I know. I was home. I saw Louis C.K. stand up. He's amazing. I love him. He's one of my favorites. But I was at my parents' house like a couple years ago when this was on, and it came on HBO, and it was. That's an uncomfortable moment right there. And I think he was in bed with his wife asking for a hand job, and it was kind of uncomfortable.
You mean like now?
Yeah, little.
Yeah, I don't know.
What is this, Gary? Well, what did you put on the television?
Oh, check it out. If you're an adult, check out Louis. If not, well, American Horror Story. My wife's hooked on American Horror Story. She was sick in bed as well. She was hurling chunks as well for a couple days there. 102 fever, the whole nine. So Merrick recently watched. She watched the entire first seasons on here. She watched. Anybody fans here?
I've never seen it.
Anybody a fan of Nick Swartzen?
I'm definitely not a fan of him.
Nope. I don't know. You should be. Maybe you should be. Check it out. Go on over to netflix.com/GamebreakerTV. Sign up for the free 30-day trial. If you want to keep the streaming service, it's $8 a month after that. But you can cancel anytime before the month is up, and you will be charged zip, zilch, zero, nothing. But I'm sure if you try it, I know you're going to love it. I've been a long-term Netflix member. I love it, love it, love it. Check it out today. Go to netflix.com/GamebreakerTV. All right, Scott. So apparently you did this long ass interview with Colin Brohanson from ZAM. For ZAM.
For a bit.
Yes. It's definitely worth reading. Definitely, if you guys have not checked it out, go over to ZAM.com, pull it out. We're going to pull out just a fraction of the quotes that you pulled here. So let's see. First up.
I feel like he's a quote generator.
He is.
I feel like that's his job.
So we talked about, you asked him a little bit about previewing item links. They're coming back in the January patch here. He said, we actually do have a team that is working on building preview for the trading post. It's coming along pretty well. It's not something that will be in this month to release. It's probably still a ways off, but that is something that they're actively working on right now, and we'll see at some point in the game. What's going on with this? Do you get any more? I mean, this is like, I mean, maybe this can be our new running joke. Now that we don't have guesting anymore, maybe it can be previewing. No, but did he give you any other sort of inclination of why this takes long? I mean, from the armchair developers out there, like going like, this seems like a no-brainer, right? You're just like, you're right? You okay?
Yeah, it does a bit. Yeah, I'm fine.
It was saying armchair developers because they just make you nauseous.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, when we talked about it, just one of those things where it was like, are we going to get to see trading post preview? And he's like, oh, well, you're going to get preview, which is good. That's a good start. He's like, that's basically the first step towards getting it. And he says we're not going to see it in kind of the next few months, but it's something on the way. But yeah, it was one of those things where, what are you going to say? They're working on it. He's going to have to give me, like, infrastructure detail on how it was, why it's causing an issue.
Yeah, I think it's a much bigger, like, this is a much bigger deal than, like, everybody. Yeah. Like, from the player standpoint, they're just like, why isn't this in? This seems easy. It's got to be a pretty big job. Like, this isn't just, like, some simple little thing. It probably ties into a lot of systems, or it wouldn't be taking this long.
You would think it'd be something to do with sort of either server load or something like that, because you've got a universal trading post.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got to think that that's the complexity that's added to it. That's the thing that's going to make it difficult, having that many requests. People looking at the trading post and hitting Twilight over and over again as a preview, standing there looking ace with Twilight over the shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, we're looking at a list of items, a list of names in our inventory, and we can preview it. And then you look on the trading post, and it's just like, why can't this list do this list? But they're completely, separate things. The interesting thing is, I agree that for a mostly cosmetic kind of appearance type game, it's definitely detrimental not to be able to do this. But it's kind of an interesting thing that there are so many weapon and armor skins that people just don't know about, right? You see some very common skins when you're walking around town and stuff like that. There are some really cool looking.
Sorry, Elizabeth was apparently tired. She had, nappy nap. She's yawning.
Oh, what's my bedtime?
She thought it was safe.
A little nappy nap. We're just boring her. Go on, Richie. Sorry.
Come on,
Your
Richie.
boring conversation just put her to sleep, but I'm sorry we diverted and I interjected there. Continue, sir, with your intelligent commentary of... Yeah, it's in. Commentary by Elizabeth. Thank you.
Nice. All right. So what I was saying is it's interesting. There's a lot of cool looking skins for different weapons and stuff like that you don't see around. And I bet it has a large part, to do with the fact that, you can't actually preview these items. So what is this item? I don't know. I'm not going to spend, 10, 11 gold on this thing. I don't even know what it looks like. So I think it does have an interesting side effect that it's easier to kind of, if you take a chance or you look up on the various websites that actually have these skins presented, you can actually find yourself a fairly unique looking set of armor or weapons that not many people have.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're obviously using this to just drive traffic to their wiki page, as more people are like, wait, well, what does the Shield of the Moon look like? Or what does the Shield of this look like? Or what does Chrysador the Golden Sword look like? People are going and looking that up, so it's clearly just a ploy to drive web traffic.
Cunning.
All right, Scott. Talking about you talked to him a bit about the upcoming guild mission system. You got a little bit more out of him. So he said, "I've seen a lot of comments on the forums, on our forums, people saying, are they adding instance raids to the game? And no, that is not the intent of the system at all." He said. So he said, "We really want to leverage our open world." Let me finish. Can I finish? Can I finish?
Go ahead.
Thanks. All right.
Go on.
Sure.
Go on.
All right.
Go on, then.
Said, we really want to leverage our open world and make it as strong as we possibly can.
I'm having too hard. I can't do it.
You finished?
Take your time. Read your quote. Read your paragraph-long quote. That's mean. Mean people on this show.
We really want to leverage our open world and make it as strong as we possibly can. We think that these missions that guilds can kick off are things that other people can come help them with. As long as they're designed well and people don't ruin the experience, but just make it better. That's the line that scares me, right there. Because like I said, players are assholes, and we don't want them to ruin the experience. And it just tells a lot, right? He says guilds can kick off. So again, this sounds almost like what we were alluding to before. Like, guilds strategically can kind of do a couple things within a zone or an area to kind of kick something off. An event happens, and then like everyone can kind of rush in and do this. It's... I don't know. I got to give a bit of a doubt because the game is. I love the game. Besides the boss things, I don't think we've ever really said much bad about it. But the guild thing is a slippery slope. I want to see how they're going to implement this, but I think this is a big telltale sign thing. I just hope that people don't ruin the experience. And like you said, the Zerg is going to win every time. If you do it, oh, we have ratings. Ratings, okay? Ratings.
I'm fine.
Damn. Ratings going to go through the roof. You just hurl right into the. Make sure the camera's right there. Is the camera separate from a computer? Because if you can just cover the camera, just right on it. I'll buy you a new one. Don't worry about it. Just go.
You're a mean man.
Projectile that bitch of vomit right onto that camera. Just.
Man.
Bitch of vomit.
What are these words you're saying?
I don't think I've ever heard that combination of words before. Oh my god. We're getting punchy.
I'm gonna get sleepy. All I do is yawn. You start talking about bitches and vomiting.
Oh, Elizabeth is tired. All right, the scary word raid came up again, though. Seriously. I mean, so it sounds like it's not going to be instanced at all. People don't have to freak out. Don't sound like we're going to get raids.
They did anyway, though.
Of course they did. It's the internet.
Of course they did.
Anyway.
The word raid is in there. They must be implementing raids.
I mean, the big question is, how are these going to be different from any other group event that goes on in the game? That's the big question for me. It's like, okay, if guilds kick it off in multiple things, how is the actual event going to be any different than a dynamic event that we see all over the world? I hope there's something different. I hope.
I think the solution's a little bit in the rewards and the reward structure, right? Because if like think about a game like World of Warcraft, they have open world bosses, and a guild is required to take them out. And if there are people on your same faction that want to jump in and kind of engage it as well, they can, right? They're not going to get any loot out of it or anything. But in Guild Wars 2, it would be okay if everybody who participates gets kind of like some boss loot. But the guild itself that actually triggered it and is required, there has to be some sort of guild mission or guild reward unlock that they actually get credit for. They get some sort of currency, and they talked about having some revamped guild rewards. So if there's some sort of new incentive for that only the guild gets in addition to the rewards that everybody else gets, then it can kind of work. So I think it really depends on the reward structure.
The way I am, though, I have to say, I don't think that would actually solve the problem, because that's nice getting gear, but are you enjoying what you're doing more because you're with your guild doing that than you would be otherwise, other than the fact you might get an extra, you got a chance of getting an extra rare or exotic maybe, is actually the content itself something that's bringing your guild together, because that's the point of it.
I'm kind of with you on that. I care less about the reward and the loot structure or anything like that than actually the event, because I'm going like maybe worst case scenario, but the dynamic events are fun the first time you do them once in a while, but like if you're doing something as a guild, I don't know how the Zerg is going to be fun. Like, to me,
imagine, well, the worst case scenario is you're a guild and there's certain events in certain places that are on a timer, because they'd have to be on a timer because you can just keep triggering them all day long, I would imagine. So there's a event on a timer in a certain area that you go along and you start off, and then it's basically an event with a few extra veterans or something, or a champ in there at the end of it, maybe.
So some sort of like scaling up event or something in the open world.
Yeah, and that's it. So, but I don't know how it's going to be anything other than that. And what it comes down to is the execution. Is it going to be fun? Is it going to be a fight that you're going to be calling for people? We need help. Come on, everybody, come down here to this place, and and not in the claw of Jormak. Hey, it's starting, everybody. Everybody, turn up. Oh, go get your bazooka. If it's something like that's going to get stuck in, and it's going to be fun, then great. That'll be cool. But it's going to be down to the execution. It's going to down to be. They're going to start implementing interesting enough open world fights, no matter whether it's for the individual mob or for the multi-phasing. And at the end of the day, it has to be for the individual mob.
So many questions, and then how long do they last, right? And then you show up with your guild to go do it. There's another guild who just kicked it off, and you're like, damn. Now what do we do? Now we got to sit.
Side story style.
But so many
it's going to happen.
It's this huge new thing that could be like massive for the game, or it could be something that's actually just the first step on the way, and it's not going to be as big a deal as maybe we are hoping. Because that's the problem at the moment, is we're hoping for one thing to fix every issue that we've got with the game. It's a cracking game, but there are things that we'd like to see improved, which is a rational way to behave, everybody. But hoping it'll fix it all in one go, in one patch, is unlikely. So we'll just have to...
Yeah, it's a big issue that we've been talking about for months and months, and we really sorely need it. And the only information we've got is 2 words: guild mission. And then we're just left here just scrambling to be like, what is this, and trying to figure it out. So
the other word in there was raid, so don't forget the word raids in there. So
raids.
We're just talking about. They were talking about bug spray, the carpet.
It's actually hinting at the new mob type. After the smashing success of the Karka, they're inventing giant cockroaches. Everyone goes around with raids. That's actually the new World v. World ability, is you get this can on your back and you spray it.
It's for engineers only, though.
When does this non-expansion of an expansion drop? Or it says the 23rd, okay. 5 days.
Monday, right?
5 days.
I've never actually been more on the edge of my seat of anticipation of knowing what the heck's going to be in this patch. Since the game is launched, there's so many things. I'm like, how is this going to work? And they're giving us such little pieces. They're teasing it.
They are very being like, wait and see, like you'll find out, like we'll tell you that this sort of thing is going to mean it, but you have to wait and see what the story is and wait and see what this is.
This is where it's going to be down to if they got the messaging right, because if it's not a big deal, they need to come out and say right now, it's not. We're just going to do this and that, you know. You're going to be able to do this. You're going to be able to. If it is, then this is the exact way to build up to it.
But they did say that like the January patch is kind of the building blocks patch, the foundation upon which other patches will rest. So I'm not expecting like January and everything's fixed.
Yeah.
Clearly that has to wait till February.
That's absolutely it. But
there's no unicorn, so obviously everything is not fixed.
Well, it's going to be the first look at this and the first look at where this idea is going to grow from.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll at least get a good idea of the kind of mechanics involved and what ideas ArenaNet's got for where it can go with the guild system, because it's really important.
Raids. All right. So with the addition of this system, Scott, you brought up another question. We talked a little bit about it before. You touched on it, and it was about the party size increase. Again, being only 5. So Colin answered with this. He said, one of the strengths of Guild Wars 2 is that the UI is really clean and streamlined. It's not overwhelming. It's easy to see what's going on. So one of the challenges we're going to have is we don't want to lose that capacity to easily look at the screen and understand what's going on. And then he said, we really don't want people to spend their time looking at the edges of the screen watching progress bars move up and down in all directions. That was aliens. Did you hear that?
I did hear that.
He goes on to say that if they did increase the party size limit in the future, they'd have to keep those things in mind.
He says that it's something that they talk about all the time. Like it's something that it's not something that's
airplanes.
And I can completely appreciate the aesthetic and trying to, you know, keep that down to a minimum. I guess and who knows, and I don't know if they're beyond that point or not, but there's got to be that fine line between the system that just something that needs to be in the game because the players just absolutely want it. And especially we'll see more like when guild missions are implemented. I don't know. I kind of agree with you, the feeling that like 5 is too limited.
They need to just let people not need to be commanders to start a squad in PvE. So you can see your squad buddies and you can talk as a squad, because squads hold what, like 40 people? I don't really know. But just have anyone be able to say, hey, I'm a squad leader, and then everybody joins that squad. And right now you can do that as a commander, but it's 100 gold for the commander backpack, so you're not going to have like every guild leader just being like, oh, I really want to do this. This seems fun.
You know what would be a nice... Sorry. What would be a nice start is just being able to see where your guild is on a map. Have the option to see if you're in the same zone, see where your guildies are on the map, and then through your guild chat or through Vent or whatever you use, you can see and organize from that. That would be just a nice start, just to see where you are and then organize, and then you've got more sort of awareness of what's going on with different people, where they are, and then if you have these kind of multi-stage events where you've got things going on in different places, you can say, okay, you're over there, you need to get over to here now, and you need to go and do that, and so on. And that would be, to me, that would be a good beginning. And you wouldn't need to have, you know, UI change at all. You just, you know, you want to just expand your mini-map if you want to keep an eye on it.
I mean, this is where you start getting into the whole debate about add-ons and this and that and the other thing, and it's like, you know, what people want, what people use, and like, you know, I mean, I hate to break it down to like almost a simplistic thing, but like, what if this is one of those? I feel like this might be one of those things that they need to give people what they want, and like, and give the option of the UI to just toggle it on or off, visible or not. And if you want to shut it off and keep the clean UI, hey, here it is for you. And we're not, you know, we're not messing up with, you know, ArenaNet's beautiful UI here. But there's a lot of other players out there that like, you know what, like it's almost counterintuitive. Like it's almost like a hindrance on the game, and it's almost like detracting from the game for them. And that's where it's like,
it's like you're coming from two different sort of standpoints. You're talking about the design team who has put all this time, love, and like work into making sure that the world tells you what you need to know, and then to go and put it in, and then make a system that automatically makes it so the world doesn't tell you what you need to know. Your UI does completely. Is absolutely like a right turn from all the sort of design philosophies that they've built into the game. So I can understand why to them that's a big leap. But yeah, if it was going to make your game more enjoyable, if you're going to have more fun with your guildmates rampaging across Aura doing stuff, because you can see where everybody is, and you can see how to get together to help people and stuff like that, and just communicate easier,
yeah,
it's worthwhile.
I honestly cared less about being able to see like everyone's health bar on my UI and more about being able to see where they are on the map and being able to talk to them without going into local or map chat, because nobody wants map chat to be littered with my group.
No.
Local isn't great if we're doing it with other people. So something like a squad chat would be a really nice way to be able to communicate, and again, like have those people highlighted in yellow or whatever on your map so you see where they are. So if you get lost, it's much the same as working with a party. So it's much less about, like, I don't want 40 names down the side of my screen either. Like, that's not going to help me. But
and I don't think you need that.
To them would. You don't.
Yeah, you definitely don't need that in this game. And I agree that custom chat channels would be huge in this game. Absolutely huge, because there's people all over the place, you know, that are in different guilds and different servers and stuff. I would love to be able to have a constant kind of, you know, communication with. I do think that there are solutions to this that don't mess up their UI, like these guys have been saying. But I will say that I recently logged into World of Warcraft for the first time in almost a year, and I was blown away.
How dare you!
What? I played World of Warcraft for like 7 years. It's not a surprise.
Oh my God, not a big deal.
But it was shocking to me how much stuff was all over my screen, and when I was running around, how much I was actually looking at UI elements rather than what I was doing, and that is so different than how you play Guild Wars 2. So they're definitely right to protect that, but I think there are solutions they can do that don't compromise that.
Yep.
All right, next up, I don't know what you talked about. Let's just do the quote. You talked about something, and then he said something, and it kind of went something like this.
And then it happened.
Yep. He said, we want to take those bosses that have a lot of health and give them phases and make them change your gameplay style as you go through so they get more exciting. We want to do that in dungeons, and we want to do that in the open world as well. We want to create tactics that require the party to work together more and to really have cohesive gameplay between everybody and require the tactical style of play that our combat system can allow, and we just need to keep pushing the boundaries on that as we go forward.
Yay! What I said to him in as nice a way as I possibly could, because he's a lovely bloke. I just chatted to him. He's a lovely bloke.
Oh, he's a horrible human being.
He's great. He's nice.
He's an awful human being. Don't even.
Like, we can't.
Seriously, you cannot. No, he's.
He came on, and we had like 30 minutes, and he goes, "Well, if we run a little bit over, it'll be okay." And then 50 minutes later, we're just talking about, I don't know, the industry and stuff. And I went, "You've got a live stream in a bit," and I'm taking up your time. We'll leave it here. I said, "Oh, okay. Speak to you soon." And he was just a really lovely fella. So all of this came out from us just basically just chatting for ages about stuff. And
he really is just the nicest man.
He really is just a really nice bloke. And
he's not going to send you free stuff, guys. Just seriously, like, just stop. I know you want free T-shirts.
Look,
couldn't accept it if he did. So
no.
I said if Mesmer has a portal, Guardian should have Symbol of Ascension, which is like the Planet Side 2 lifts, and then you walk up to a wall, slap a symbol down, and you can fly over the top of it. There you go. And he said, "I'm going to get the skill team on that, and so look for that soon." And he wasn't joking, honest.
He wasn't joking. It's gonna happen February patch.
I'm expecting April, but I don't want to, you know, expect it to happen too quickly.
Yeah, I was actually reading the article, and I was trying to figure out if it was actually Scott that interviewed him, and I saw that part. I'm like, yeah, that was Scott.
Yeah,
this is a little tell.
Yeah, I said Guardians should have that. He says, you just want everybody to have Paul's Story? I said, no, just Guardians.
Looking back at it now, we talked about this like tons. You guys think that the whole thing with bosses and stuff like that was just something that they kind of ran out of time on, or do you think that it was the whole lack of the Holy Trinity? Like, what do you think? Kind of like, why is this the area that's like?
I'm gonna go ahead and bet that you haven't played the submarine path of Crucible of Eternity. Am I pretty safe in that bet?
Yes.
It is such a fun boss fight. So essentially, you've got this big hulking monstrosity that has to run into a pillar in order to become like vulnerable. And it's one mechanic, but if you're a good team, it's still a really brief fight. But like, you're just really working out like angles and how do I get him to run into this and who's he aggroed on and how do I get him to charge? How far away do I have to go? Where can I not pull him? And it's a really fun fight. And there are a couple other really fun fights. The Gaharan Balefire fight in the story mode of KOF is really fun. So they have a lot of really solid fights, but for every whatever the ice juggernaut thingy's name is, you've got the Nightmare Tree in Twilight Arbor, which is just awful,
tedious.
Terrible fight,
Yeah.
awful fight. And so I think some of it is execution. Other ones, like in Cathedral Flames, if you go down Ferris Path, the boss has mechanics, but they're really easy to ignore. Like, you're supposed to be like have half your team taking out crystals and the other half DPSing the boss. But if you just all DPS the boss, you're outdoing any healing that the crystals give him. So some of it might just be like tweaking it to make the mechanics actually essential and maybe not around for the whole fight, because that's the other problem we've talked about them having, is they have an interesting mechanic, but that interesting mechanic lasts for the whole 5-minute boss fight, and it becomes a lot less interesting after you figured it out. You just figure, okay, we have to run this way and do that. So a lot of it, I think, is about like beefing up the stuff that's already in there, because they have a lot of really great mechanics. So I'm really hopeful that they know it's a problem and they've done excellent stuff before.
Yeah,
so they can do excellent stuff now.
He says they know that it's something they need to do. They need to add more phases to bosses. They need to make it more interesting. They need to make fights not as dramatically long as they are in some cases. And he says if you keep, he says what's happening in some fights is that with some mobs, some bosses, you learn very quickly one tactic that works against them, and you repeatedly do that tactic for 5 minutes. And he said it's not fun, it's not engaging gameplay, and so that needs fixing. So it's not. The thing about it is very frank. He didn't sort of like try to say, well, actually, I think this. He says we've got some good fights, but no, there's a lot needs fixing, both in dungeons and in the open world, because who wants to fight a champion in the open world? Ooh, Darkstained Claw. And then, so they need to fix both the way that fights progress, and the fact that you have to need more communication and organisation between the party themselves, rather than just having each doing something at the same time somebody else happens to be in the room. So there needs to be more of that.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out really quickly that it was very cruel of them to put in 2 char-themed dungeons in their games called something that starts with a C of Flame, because there's a Cathedral Flame in Guild Wars 1 that I just mentioned, and I actually meant Citadel Flame in this game. I apologize. I've been saying Cathedral Flames for the last 5 years, since whenever North came out, 3 years. So I apologize for mixing that up. Keep going.
Yeah. I don't think it's much a factor that they ran out of time as much as it is that they're learning, right? It's a learning process for them as well. This is new game for them as well. So they have a bunch of players now that have been playing it for 6 months, and the fractal bosses on the whole, except for the jellyfish, I think are a step up from what we saw for the most part before. So it's just going to be learning how to challenge the player base, and I think it'll keep getting better and better. So
that's exactly what he says. He says that the bosses that they've made, that the best bosses in the game are basically ones that they've made since launch.
Yep.
And so they've learned, and they'll keep on learning, and they'll get better.
Gary's just going to eat now. He's getting ready.
Can I go get an apple or something?
Can we just avoid food in general right now? Really appreciate that, man.
Such a jerk.
We're gonna have to take naps and cycle in and out. It's your turn.
Switch off. You take the camera for a while. Yeah.
So there's a lot more that you guys talked about in your interview as well about all that stuff. We're gonna move on because we're still not even done with this show. Let's gonna be like 3-day long
close. It is.
Oh, what's up? All right, so Colin then talked about what needs to be fixed in Dub v Dubs. And of course, the first thing that needs to be fixed is Dub v Dubs. He said, the second one is the sense of personal progression. A reason for you to log in every day with the sense that you're progressing when you're fighting in there. And it kind of goes hand in hand with the third one for me, which is a reason for you to log in and play, even if your server is losing, or if it's day 6 and you have no chance of coming back. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with Colin? Is the Brohanson man, is he on par? Is it really something that's missing? It's definitely missing.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to logging in and
Stormblood-
PvPing for fun, though? No, that's just no. We need loot. We need trinkets. We need laurels. We need items. We need progression.
The statistics will tell you yes.
Yeah. Stormbluff Isle recently dropped down into our bracket in World versus World, and then they started losing. Not badly, but they were losing.
How'd that go?
And so all the World versus World teams left, like all the guilds for World versus World were like, well, screw you guys, we're gonna go join, someone who's not losing badly, and they just tanked. Like, it was not a great performance from them. So I think it'll be really good, because right now they've got the whole Commander, Siege Raiser, Siege Crusher, depending on which map you're in and who you are, to kind of get people going. But it'd be nice if there was more incentive for doing stuff, even if you're losing.
You don't think fun is just enough? Fun's not enough.
No,
for this?
fun's there, but so say it's day 6 or Friday, and you know that resets in a couple hours. Most people, if you're losing badly, you're not going to make enough of a difference.
Yeah.
So you're just going to wait till reset, and you have half of a map back in every map.
Fun's great the first 10 times that you do it. After that, you've got to have another reason, and that's essentially what is going on.
Yeah.
If you're in an MMO, you cannot create so many different things to do that you won't run out of them.
Yeah.
So you have to have something that you will do repeatedly. And if you're going to, it needs to be fun, it needs to be engaging, but eventually you're going to need another reason.
And the thing is that the people who are doing it for fun are still doing it for fun. Like, I know people who haven't stepped out of World versus World. Like, they've been doing it since day 1, and they're happy there. And that's totally fine, and they're going to keep doing it until they take the servers down 8 billion years from now. But there are other people who are like, yeah, like PvP, like World
Yeah,
War
no,
I,
this is huge. This
stuff.
is huge for people who just want to live in WV-dubs day in and day out and just kind of want to take that really seriously. I mean, that's going to be awesome for them. They're going to be encouraged and give a reason to kind of jump in every single day and accomplish something on top of just having fun. So hopefully it makes the battle itself a lot more dynamic and kind of like things happening, especially when he talks about, if you're really down and you need a chance to come back. So it sounds like they're going to put some stuff in there to kind of balance that out.
It's been kind of a weird thing, because the way WVW works is it's brilliant at getting people who mainly like to PvE to hop in and do things in WVW, because they still get to level up and they still get that benefit for the PvE. But now, if you just want to WVW, you're going to have a reason that intrinsically that will have a progression in itself, which makes perfect sense. It's one of those strange things where WVW is great for crossing over styles, but needs to have something more intrinsic to it.
That's just rude.
That is
Didn't your
going
mom teach you manners?
That is an awful sound effect.
It's a terrible
Next, he
sound.
talked about earnings here. He started talking about earning experience in structured PvP. Which, can we just say that structured PvP sucks as a name? Can you come up with something else and like call it something? Like,
I got a name for it.
Like, they didn't want to call it battlegrounds. They don't want to call it war zones, but anything. Structured PvP just is not cool. There's nothing cool about structured PvP.
Structured PvP is the one that you feel comfortable your kid's going to, because you know it's structured.
I dropped my kids off
Get
in
up to anything.
PvP.
Unstructured
Oh,
PvP.
It's
Oh,
structured.
it's Tuesday night. Kids got structured PvP for that. Hey.
Yeah.
That's
He's a
the way to
Blue
raise
Mountains.
kids.
Don't you hang out with those unstructured PvPers.
Yeah. No, that's
Bad influence on you.
hang out on corners, smoking cigarettes.
Game is completely racist.
Vagabonds.
All right. He said, it's something we're talking about. I don't know if we're going to go down that path or look at a different path entirely, or how we want to do progression. There are a lot of options on the table that we're still trying to pick from for exactly what we're going to do with that. They don't know. So I don't know. What do you guys have? You guys have an opinion on this? Experience from structured PvP.
I would really like that because I have 8 characters, 5 of whom aren't level 80, which means I really want to go in on my Guardian. But part of me knows that if I just do that later, I won't have to worry about like losing time because I play the game a lot, but I don't play the game so much that I don't have to think about how I structure my time in it. So while I understand that they kind of want things to reward the things you're doing, so like you're doing something that doesn't require experience, why would you get experience? But it'd just be so nice if something would happen, like whether it's when you go up a level, you get a little chest that gives you XP so that you have to be doing well to actually be getting stuff. But something so that if you're a PvE-centric character and I really want to get her to 80 so I can put this awesome armor that I already have for her on her, I could know that this was a step towards that goal.
I don't know. Then you got like, everybody's just going to want something else then. They just want more. And again, you're just going to need like, more loot, another carrot, blah, blah.
But the reason that people, but the reason that people want more is that it's so prevalent in other areas of the game. So like in WVW, people who aren't WVW fanatics, is he finished? Okay. WVW fanatics can go in and it brings in people from the other content streams. Whereas structured PvP doesn't really at the moment. So to me it would make sense when they talk about you can pick which one you like and you can get progression in it. That to me just makes sense that that'd be a nice crossover. That's why I asked. I said, WVW's got that. Are you going to bring something to structured PvP to the same? So PvE people feel like they're progressing in the way they like, but also can go and dabble in some structured PvP.
Yeah, I had a lot of people in my guild played nothing but structured PvP for the first few months when it launched, and then they've transitioned over to World versus World, and they were all like level 5. They had to like,
what do I do?
Yeah, and it's a little bit awkward. I do agree that it would be nice, like Elizabeth said, to actually do well and get some experience points in a jar or something that you can open up and actually start leveling up your character that way. It's just a little bit awkward in how it would work. It's like, well, as long as you stay here, you're level 80 with all your things unlocked. But this little jar of experience you click on, and that affects you outside of the game. It gets a little
something,
yeah. So as long as they implement it in a way that kind of makes sense and doesn't totally confuse new players, I think it would be really cool.
And I mean, looking at SWTOR, I mean, gaining experience in SWTOR PvP was wildly popular. No, it was just, people loved it. Like,
it was.
Yeah. People definitely want it. I mean, if they want it, I mean, I guess why not let them play the game they want to play? Do you guys think that sometimes there's like a debate that goes on that sometimes, like, with an MMO, there's so many different types of games within an MMO. It's like you've got this like single player kind of like RPG-ish thing with story going on. You've got like PvP where you're like competitively doing this. Now you've got multiple kinds of PvP, and you got crafting, which is kind of like another game. And it's like almost sometimes that you wonder if developers almost want all players to try and experience all things instead of like letting them play what they want to play.
Yeah. But it's about having, if people want to go and dip into try it out, then it's just naturally healthy for the game to have. I mean, structured PvP at the moment, it's not as populated as I'm sure they would like, frankly, for a variety of reasons. And I think we're going to talk about that in a bit. But having more crossover without making it necessary to do it, to just have that as an option just to ease that crossover into different lanes of content makes sense. And as I said, they've already done it with WVW. Mm-hmm. So spreading that across would just seem a natural thing to do. I don't know if it's the one to say, look, our structured PvP is for those real hardcore metagamers, and they're worried about the sort of like image you would get. I wouldn't think so, but I don't know. It just seems to me it makes sense. Have something that's going to make more people want to play that.
You guys like sriracha sauce?
You're a mean man.
This shit is so hot. Oh my god.
You're a mean man.
Serious business right there. Next up, you talked to Colin a little bit about competitive PvE. Colin had this to say. He said, I think if you look at the fundamentals and core pillars of what Guild Wars 2 is, the PvE side. Excuse me. The PvE. So
You're terrible,
disappointing.
man. So
The PvE side of the
disappointed, I
game
really
is based on cooperation rather than competition. So I think where we do introduce that into PvE, it will have to be in ways that encourage people to be cooperate, but also provide them with things like high scores, where they're cooperating with other players to try and achieve a score or try to be the best at something, but it doesn't put them at odds with other players. I think that's really important to us. And this goes back to something I think that we talked about super early in the show. What was that, like 4 days ago when we started the show?
Yeah, I was going to say. That was this morning.
It's a really important thing that is what the PvE aspect of Guild Wars 2 did really right, was not creating that competition of fighting over stuff in the game. And if that was one of the strengths, really, and they'd really need to stick through that. Breathe through it, man. Breathe.
It'll be interesting because if you start putting up like a leaderboard for Jormag and there's anything but EPing attached to it, and even with that, like if you say like, oh, the people who did the most damage to Jormag, right now one of the big things about getting through that event as a group is everybody reses everybody. Like you see someone go down, you hit F button and you revive them. And if you're doing that at the cost of, one extra hit every minute or something, people are going to be like, well, if I do that, I'm not going to get on the leaderboard. And so suddenly you see, because people want to do well, less reviving going on, and suddenly you have people like failing at that event for the first time in the history of the game because it's never failed before, I swear.
So there could be a counterintuitive element to it.
So it depends on what they put it in. Like if you don't put it in Jormag but you put it in something else, it still might work.
Or if the leaderboard is how many people you've rezzed.
Yeah.
Jormag.
And the fight just lasts for 2 hours because everyone's like, whoa, are you feeling all right? You going down? Because I can res you.
I think leaderboards are great, though, because they had so many of these unique little mini games in Guild Wars 1, and people used to do them, and there was no reward really for them. It just was the leaderboard, and they had the daily, the person who did it the best, daily, weekly, and even monthly or something like that, and people used to do that all the time. They'd have this, this event where you turned into a worm and you had to run around and do different things. And I don't know. I think there is room for some sort of leaderboard, some sort of way to kind of stack up against other PvE players. I hope they do something like that.
And if you finish at the top of it, you get a title and a jaunty hat. There you go.
Jaunty
People
hat.
go mad for it.
What about a mount?
Love it.
Mount would be pretty awesome.
Unicorn.
No mounts. No mounts.
Unicorn mount
They
for
said
the
no
win.
mounts. The last thing I thought when I looked at that piece of concept art was, oh, they're putting mounts in. Really, just the last thing.
I couldn't figure out where that whole mount thing came from. I was like,
I had to
why
look
do
at it
people
again. I
think
was
there's
like, why are
mounts?
people asking
I'm
this?
looking at that, and
It's got 4 legs, you can ride it. That's it, there's mounts. Sorted proof, stamp it.
Goodness.
All right, finally, Colin talked a bit about the future with Mr. Scott Hawks here. He said, we recognize the Guild...
Ow.
With Guild Wars 2 and with the expansion...
You have to critically consume media.
We talked expansions for a bit. We did.
And ways that we're going to grow the game in the future. We can't stagnate and just keep building on the core systems we've already got. He says, we need to drive innovation and drive new ways to play our game and new features that grow the game, that really make it feel like it's this evolving world with a unique structure to it. So 2 years from now, maybe the next genre of MMO could exist within Guild Wars 2. Use that word again.
You need to critically consume media to understand the point of what is being said. And you're not doing that if you're just nailing the word. It's a fine word that you can use to understand.
I asked him. No, he was relating. He was actually talking about. He was specifically relating to expansion. It was. I asked him, like, I've got to ask. Okay, when's the expansion coming? And he didn't throw anything at me, which was nice. And then he just said, look, we're working on expansions, and we're working on expansions. It's something that's going to happen, but I can't give you a time frame for it. But it is something we're working on. And then I asked him, look, you've made Guild Wars 2. If you look at the games coming out in the next year to 2 years, look how many features in Guild Wars 2 are in those games. And then you've set benchmarks in the industry. What do you think is going to be the next benchmark you're going to set? And he said, look, I am going to say what I can talk
FPS.
I'll talk about stuff.
MMOFPS. That's one.
PlanetSide Guild Wars 2.
MMOFPS.
Does your mother know you do things like this?
Roller StarCraft.
Does she cry herself to sleep
After
at night?
some of the things she's watched with him, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Gary, what are you doing? You're talking with your mouth.
That's so the expansion is going to be
What's the
FPS.
show?
That's the Guild Wars 2
There you go.
expansion is going. Can we write that up? Guild Wars 2 expansion is going to be FPS. It's going to be in the game.
No.
First person
No.
soda?
Don't drink.
Nobody else
soda.
saw that game, apparently.
No, but you're right. It is a pretty good benchmark to see like how many things are being nicked from Guild Wars 2
Yeah.
outside of the industry.
That's already happening, right?
Elder Scrolls looks great, but look at some of the system. No, it is Elder Scrolls. I'm really looking forward to Elder Scrolls.
It's going to be fun.
They're doing some stuff with that, like with the way they're going to do instancing, the way they're going to do phasing, the way they're going to do the sort of mega server idea. And like, really interesting. I love the sort of combination of mobs, the way that mobs basically have combo fields like players do in Guild Wars 2, and it's more tactical. Great stuff. But to say that some of those ideas aren't in Guild Wars 2, it's just, it's not being insulting. It's just, it's the new standard now, because as soon as you go back into
at all.
a game,
I mean, it's like a trophy.
If it's a good feature, why not? Yeah.
It's like being made fun of on this show. This is like when you get made fun of on SNL. Like
It's a badge of honor.
You embrace it. It's a badge of honor.
Absolutely. So what it comes down to is that you've got all these games that if you go and play a game that was made like, say, I don't know, 8 years ago, not mentioning any of them, and then you can't get in, that you can't just naturally form like parties with people, form groups of people that you're in competition with basic stuff for. It feels antiquated, and that's happened within like 4 months. And I'm not saying that sort of thing is done and dusted, but for many people it kind of is. And so it just makes sense that the next line of MMOs coming along are going to move with that trend and that feature. It just makes perfect sense. But what he was saying is that what most MMOs do, they have their basically set systems, and that's their game. What they want to do is their set system.
They don't change
is
over
innovation.
time. You can't change. You gotta change. You can't just put your head down and like just stare at this. You pick your head up and look at what's going on.
And the only thing that they wanted to be set is essentially the innovation. So they'll keep on coming up. They're going to keep on working on new stuff. This is the prototyping stuff that they don't want to talk about because they don't want other people putting it in their game before it comes into Guild Wars 2.
That makes sense.
Yep.
And that's the way it should be, shouldn't it? If you're making a game and you want to keep it fresh and alive, keep basically making a new game within it.
Yep. I agree.
Seems the logical thing to do.
Guess we got to do some viewer questions.
I guess so.
Otherwise, it's going to be a little light.
We might not hit our full hour.
I feel
Liz,
like we
you
need a silver blanket over us at this point.
Liz, you look so excited about that. I'm going to have you read them. Go up. Alex Peters.
Is it just me, or is there a little notification for additional events in a chain? For example, in Metrica Province, you have to escort a script to a certain point where the event is, but then another event, part 2 if you will, takes place directly after a short conversation between NPCs. Problem is, everyone is gone by the time the next event starts, leaving it a lonesome quest. I think a certain icon or color in the quest info could remedy this, and if I somehow missed one already in place, just make it more obvious. We kind of agree. We've talked before about how it's a problem that like people don't stick around. They're like, okay, I did that, off to the next thing. And on one hand, you can say, well, you should slow down. Or on the other hand, you can say, like, have the script immediately say, like, wait here a minute while I sort stuff out. Because that is one thing they have, is that NPCs almost always, if there's going to be a chain, they have some sort of conversation between themselves that launches into the next thing. They're like, oh, I'm so glad we got here. We better blow up this Energizer thing. And then you have to just, keep them safe while they blow up the Energizer thing. But yeah, some indication would be nice for the people who aren't going to just sit and wait.
I've actually been experiencing the opposite issue of late. I've been following NPCs,
and you're like, do
expecting it, and then they disappear, and it drives me crazy that I just went all the way. I follow them through woods and through mobs and into a cave, and they despawn. So yeah, some sort of indication so I don't waste my time would be great.
Yep. We think that would be awesome. Scott, what do you think?
It's pointing.
I don't know. What does Gary think?
Gary, do you
Damn.
want more notifications? Do you feel lied to?
I've got enough scallions in here. That's perfect amount of scallions.
On to the next question.
Oh,
This
all right,
one.
hang on.
This
Put
one
it
from
in
Stu
the
Art.
Jan Stroob. Richie,
Yeah, we're
why
on
don't you
Jan
take
Stroob next.
Jan, why don't you take this one, Richie?
All right. With the prospect of more prestige items that show of what your character achieved, do you
What?
think there will be more visual gear that
Oh,
reflects your character?
Why
What?
are we looking at a Colin Johanson quote?
I don't know.
Oh, do I want to look at Colin
I am
Johansson?
not Colin Brohanson. I am Jan Stroop.
I'm amazed that you always have a picture of him where he's not showing every single one of his gleaming white teeth. Because I feel like that's actually an accomplishment. Anyway, Jan Stroop's question was about prestige items. What?
I was trying to think of a good joke there about Colin's teeth, but I couldn't really think of anything, so.
Probably for the best.
All right. With the prospect of more prestige items that show off what your
Hey,
character
what happened
achieved.
to Pepe Le Pew? What happened to the
Are you,
accent? Did I
Alright,
are
throw
you
the
being
accent
Captain
out?
Kirk now? Are we doing our William Shatner? What was the
Come on,
prospect of
Lydia.
more prestige items?
With the prospect of more prestige items that show off what your character achieved, do you think there will be more visual gear that reflects your character, or something different? Oh? We had special visual emotes in Guild Wars 1 PvP. What do you think?
Whoa!
It'll be
we're
very
getting
nice.
invaded by France. That's a weird thing to end.
I'm telling you, man, don't do 2-hour shows anymore.
It's tough work, right?
Right.
For you
I
guys,
didn't even
For you
guys to
next
see.
week.
see how freaking easy this is. You guys want to host, go for it. You see how it is now. I'll just sit back and eat.
I read my question very well.
I'll tell you what, our viewer ratings from Quebec next week are going to be in the toilet.
Nice.
They speak our language.
Scott, what do you think? Do you even remember the question?
No.
No.
I didn't think so. It went right
What
out.
was it?
So about more visual / prestige gear, I'd like to see stuff that is more character personalized. Like you do, this thing and you help the Quaggins, you get a little, I guess Quaggin backpack is out of it now, but you help the Hylic, you get a Hylic sword or whatever. Something that shows kind of more what you did and what you have done. I know that a lot of people really lament later on in the game that they didn't save whatever their profession-specific item is. Like you start as a guardian, you might have the big Ankh shoulder plates, or as an elementalist, you've got whatever floating bead on your head, or as a mesmer, you've got this or that or the other thing. And a lot of people don't hold on to those, and then they're like, "Oh, that was really the only piece of unique gear I was going to get this game. That was it. That was gone." So it'd be nice if there was more stuff that kind of was about your growth and advancement.
All right, Liz wants more stuff. Who else wants to go?
Always more stuff.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna. Well, I should say visual emotes and extra dances and different things like that. That's very expensive and time consuming from the developer's point of view. So I those things tend to fall kind of near the bottom of the list, especially now when they're looking at bolstering all their core systems and different things like that. So I wouldn't think we're going to see anything like that anytime soon. But I definitely like Liz's suggestions of having some more kind of like gear oriented things that reflect your choices or reflect who you are in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Scott, you got anything?
I don't know who I am anymore.
No, you got anything? All right. Last up, this one from Stuart. Stuart. So I guess our producer Dom wrote in the Facebook post that asked for questions, and he mentioned that our fearless leader was AKA missing.
Yes, I am the mastermind.
Richie Procopio, follow him on the Twitter at Richie Procopio. Go over to Bogother, his YouTube channel. Of course, come over to Gamebreaker.tv every single day and check out all his Guild Wars 2 action as well as some other stuff. Hot vomit bitch action.
It's very nice.
This is very nice. Go over to massively.com and read all of Elizabeth Clare's works over there and follow her on the Twitter at Elizabeth Clare with an X. It's very nice.
Very nice.
And Scott Hawks. Follow him on the Twitter at Jaramar. Go to Zam.com. Cut him a break. My man is here sick. spewing chunks.
You're one to talk.
Cut him a break.
Goodness gracious.
There's a certain irony in that sentence.
Cut him a break.
Scott's not going to come back next week, and it's going to be all your fault.
All right, we're not coming back next week. That was it.
Four
Last
times.
episode. Probably the worst episode we ever did. I don't know what this trash was. Go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/GameBreakerNation. I don't know. Go to Netflix. They probably got better content over there than we do here. Because this is really just a train wreck. And I don't know. I'm just waiting for my Colin Brohanson check. He's such a dick.